Hey everybody, welcome back to the sexy. Actually, nothing is sexy here. Maybe John Wick is sexy. Do the ladies find John Wick sexy, Steve?
I think he is a very timeless kind of sexy.
Eternal sexy.
I don't think people ever stop swooning over him.
Since we were young. Wow. John Wick. Finally, I've been wanting to talk about my favorite subject for a long time.
This is your favorite subject.
Yes, I talk to everyone about John Wick.
More than titties.
No. God, but that's not something I can talk about with everybody.
So this is your favorite subject in talking about with polite company.
If they're into R-rated, very violent shooty bang bang, yes. But who isn't, really?
I feel like it kind of fell out of favor over time, but, I think we can delve into that later on, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, we overdid it in the 80s and 90s, and we took a break, but we're back, baby. So, obviously, y'all know what the score is. We're here to talk about John Wick. So, look, let's just start at the beginning. How did you start to watch these? Anyway, like, did you just by chance? Oh, I want a thing to watch, or
pretty much. I used to work weird evening to early night shifts at my job, and that would give me a lot of opportunities to go to like the last evening shows of things at the Regal or AMC Lowe's. And, I would often just either check on my phone or just drive there and see, okay, what's the last thing playing today? And I'll just go see it. And that's how I'd see a lot of movies at that time. And one night I'd make it just in time for John Wick. Like I didn't know too much about it. I knew Keanu Reeves was in it. Okay, I know him from things before. We'll go. And I was the only one there on that particular Tuesday. But it was very special. that one, to say the least. I wasn't expecting any of that.
You got much more than you bargained for.
It was much more than my... it very much harkened back to a very specific kind of movie I'd watch when I was much younger with my dad, but it still had its very own identity, and I was like, John Wick, this guy's going places. I gotta pay attention for more, and I was on the train after that.
Well, you know what, though? You started by saying, like, a specific kind of genre that died out. I think you just nailed it, because it's my dad, too, and a lot of my friends I can think of dads, too. It's boomers, man. They watched all that Rambo, Commando, Predator. That was the demographic back then, right? Surely.
I mean, I'd hate to give the boomers credit, but there's a lot of fun in those movies.
Well, of course, I'm just saying
they're not terribly complicated, but they're a lot of fun to watch.
That's what I'm here for, and that's the kind of movie watcher I am, really. Like, when it comes to, like, we've talked a fair amount of movies here, most recently Dynasty Warriors. That's what I'm here for. Like, I'm sorry, I don't care if this makes me a cinder blockhead. You can keep your American Beauty or whatever else to yourself. Like, keep your foo-foo Oscar movies. I want Dynasty Warriors, and I want John Wick, to be honest. So basically, it was just by chance for me. Like, mid last decade, I started buying a lot of Blu-rays because I finally had a good TV to watch them on, and of course I had a PS4. I had a Blu-ray player before that, but I was like, now that I have this new machine, I'm really gonna use it. And I started to. And for me, I had pretty much sworn off Keanu. Not that I was a big fan of his, but after 47 Ronin, I was like, I'm never watching this guy's movies again. Fuck this.
He's got a reputation for being a nice guy in Hollywood, but the things he gets put in were The Matrix, Constantine, as I joked about the other week, and
I like Constantine.
I know, but after that, it's a lot of not a great choices. I mean, yeah, go get that paycheck, but
yeah, didn't he do some after John Wick? Didn't he do some weird little also neo noir kind of like fake Blade Runner kind of thing called like it starts to P like not paranormals like parasites, something like that. Someone out there will know what we're talking about, and they're screaming at their almost at their iPod right now, but we don't use those anymore.
Yell at us at the Fine Time Podcast Twitter.
Replicants, reptiles.
Yell at us on our Twitter profile.
Anyway, so one of the random Blu-rays I bought like 7-8 years ago was John Wick, just because I had heard so much about it, and I heard it was just great action, and you are going to have to like tear me away from R-rated shooty bang bang. It's probably my favorite thing to watch, basically. So like I was like, okay, I guess I'll watch it, and man, whoo. When the movie gets going, it takes a little bit, and I'm glad it does, because when it gets going, right? So it delivers. And then this was only like a few months before the second one came out, actually, is when I watched the first one on Blu-ray. So I was like, oh shit, the second one's right around the corner. I'm in, So I think I got in at the right time.
Yeah, I guess it kind of does take a few minutes for that first one to actually get started. And I mean, honestly, I feel like as a series, they kind of give you a lot of credit for the movie viewer. Lots of things are established already. Like, we show up, Wick is already a person that's established in as a whatever he does. We know that his wife's dead, and she left him a puppy. But then we start learning about other things, like, holy shit, he's really good at killing people. And we get more details about why he's good at killing people along the way. And that's the sort of thing that gets it rolling. We don't have to deal with, oh no, he killed my dog. Now I need to do 45 minutes to an hour and a half of learning gun fu in the Himalayan mountains.
If there was any training montage, I would have, no way. Thank God.
That was my least favorite part of the Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy, where we spent all that time with the League of Shadows in the first movie. And
that was the whole movie. And then at the end, he becomes
to fight
Batman.
Scarecrow for 15 minutes.
Yeah, and then it's like, oh, wait a second, we're in Gotham. Oh, there's some poison gas. Time to, you know what I mean? It's just like,
credits roll. Come back in 3 years when we figured this shit out.
It was such a... Look, I like Batman Begins, but like... It's 2 hours of training, man. It's too much.
But they don't really waste your time with any of that unnecessary nonsense. John Wick already knows how to kill people, and then once he gets to where he goes, he just right away goes to the I guess you call it the burnout room in the basement to get the get his stuff, and okay, killing time. I'm in the room now. Where's my... Not too much questions about it. Shoot, bang, bang, stab, slam your head against the wall. We're
Do you like how in the second one he like paved up the concrete again, like immediately at the beginning? Then it's like, oh, never mind. Like, we're doing this.
And that's, again, the second one. It was popular. So you'd think a sequel would be like, my name's John Wick. I'm here because they killed my wife, they killed my dog, and they stole my car. No, right away, they start the movie, assuming you saw the first one, with him getting back his car.
Just incredible stuff.
It's a lot of respect they show you, the audience, but it's still not too difficult for you to follow.
I want to talk about that in a sec, or maybe later, but before we get past just how the first movie is set up, you were talking about. That's why, like, one of my favorite like dialogue pieces is of which there isn't a whole lot, because it's not like a quotable. John Wicks aren't necessarily like quotable movies like that in that sense, but there is a few lines that I liked, and that's why I really enjoyed. I think it was John Leguizamo or whoever punched the Russian kid in the face, whoever stole his car, because the Russian mob boss calls him up and he's like, "Did you punch my son?" "Yes." "Well, why?" And he's like, "He stole John Wick's car and killed his dog." And then he's like, "Oh." He just hangs up. This is before you see John Wick kill a single person. That's why it's great, because it sets you up for like what's about to happen shortly.
And even after that, he's like just standing there pouring vodka or whatever in his stateroom or whatever that is in his hotel, and he's like, he's coming for me. You know he's coming for me. Boy, what the hell did you do?
Oh.
Well, and it's excuse me. It's important for that sort of thing to be subtle because harkening back to those other movies that we watched as kids, could you imagine if someone like Arnold Schwarzenegger was John Wick?
No, I mean,
I feel like this couldn't work. Put my puppy down!
It would be so full of one-liners and just trash, man. No way. But okay, here's something I really wanna zone in on real quick. These movies take place in New York City, mostly. Outside of the third one, we go some other places, but it's New York City. And at first, I was kind of like, I don't really know why, but you kind of have more of an insight to this, maybe from being around them parts.
Oh yes, as the Eastern coastal elite, you might remember a very throwaway sentence from history class. New York is America's melting pot, and really, it gives the movie an excuse to basically have a lot of interesting people without being there, without having to suddenly write in reasons for them to be there, because there's folks at the Continental and the Extraordinary Legion of Hobos and a whole litany of assassins that are trying to kill him, and when the bounty goes on his head in 2 and 3, Sushi Street Bar in where they pull Zero from in the third movie. Like, you can't just pull that out in any other city. Otherwise, you'd have to like. I feel like I guess in the 80s they wouldn't have given a shit and just stuck it in Anywhere USA with all that sort of thing.
I'm not saying this movie should be in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And in fact, it's fine that it's in New York City. It just seems like, I guess, as the movies go on, I feel like New York becomes more of a character. You know what I mean? I guess that's what a lot of people say. I know that's like kind of an overarching thing. If you set it in a city like that, the city itself should be a character. I don't really feel that from the first one, but as the movies go on, I definitely do.
I mean, again, when it really comes to life in the second one. I forget that weirdo from the second one, the one who ends up getting killed at the last second, who hires the brother and hires
the high table member who's trying to get his sister's seat.
Sister. And that guy. When he puts that first bounty out, and everyone starts turning around, it is everyone. The street musician in the subway.
She just starts firing.
Like she's just standing there with the violin, and she's just like score after score of unassuming looking businessmen with briefcases. The very large fat guy that's like, yeah, we see one. If you go to New York and you haven't seen one, you really haven't been to New York. If anything, they underrepresented all the cast of characters in that scene. I was waiting for the hot dog vendor to try and throw one of those cooking forks at him.
They probably thought that was too New York. They probably had that in the storyboards.
That's too.
And they were like, no, we can't do that. We cannot do that. It'd be like if this took place in LA and they had a taco truck like trying to run them over. You know what I mean? Like, come on. Like
or having a gyro vendor, which is also on every other corner, trying to like run them down with a cart. Like, where was that? Those scenes, if anything, and there's that similar montage in 3, and it's like, if anything, the people we see in New York is understated.
Yeah. For sure. And like I said, the first one to me could have been like anywhere. I don't know. Like parts of that movie straight up look like LA. I mean, maybe they filmed in LA. I have no idea. Like, but it did. But point is, like, I didn't really feel that way till 3. Maybe it's because of the way, like, it's at night, it's pouring rain. He runs right into the middle of Times Square with the dog, right? Like that opening sequence. He's running scared before the contract goes live.
Yep.
Also, like, when you get to the conclusion of 3, when it comes to a stalemate with the adjudicator, Winston's like, because she's like, or excuse me, they're like, we are the high table, and then but Winston's like, we are New York City. I get the feeling that's what that man cares about, which we'll talk about in a second. But
there's a lot to unpack.
There is a lot to unpack. But to me, like, I don't know, again, being the West Coast elite here, maybe like if Terminator were set anywhere but LA, that just wouldn't feel right, right? Terminator is an LA movie.
It is.
To me. Like, you cannot put that anywhere else. See, I was going to ask you, so you agree. I was going to ask you if you felt that way, not being from around here, but Terminator I can't imagine Terminator not being LA.
Terminator can't be set here. It would be a different movie. You would have had to deliberately set it here. You can't just, in the same way Wick has deliberately set itself to be here. It's Terminator is a very LA movie.
Yeah, it's super LA, especially the second one where he remember the motorcycle chase scene where they're going through the sewer. I know exactly where those are. My grandfather used to live next to those. Like I've seen them.
Okay, you can't, and that's how I also know it's not New York, because even if you had an apocalypse here in New York, and you tried running that thing through a sewer, there's going to be some kind of mutated alligator trying to get you right there.
The Ninja Turtles!
Oh, the Ninja Turtles aren't going to save you from the horrors of our sewers.
Y'all really do have, like, mutated rats down there, so maybe you really should invent mousers.
They're probably down there already, but I'm not going to go look for them. My next trip.
So, here's something I want to bring to you. So I'm sure people who've never watched John Wick, it's one of those movies to shoot everyone and everyone dies. What separates this for someone who's never watched these from like the, your average Jason Statham? Why is this not Cranked or something like that, right? Or whatever the fuck. Like why what sets John Wick above? What elevates it?
Well, I mentioned before, Reeves does make the role his own. It can't be anyone else doing the role. Like I said, if it was any of the other 80s, 90s staples, it wouldn't fit that way. And there's a lot of effort put into this movie. I appreciate when there's effort put in this movie, but it watches like there's not a lot of effort put in. You know what I'm getting at? Like there's like all the fight scenes, the little details in the background, like glass and scenery changes, and even all the background details going on at the Continental, and just allusions to Wick's background that may or may not get resolved and may have already been resolved. Even stuff like the subtitle scenes, which oh, yeah, I guess we gotta have that if we're going against the thing. All feel like they're more punctuated.
I think it feels punctuated because the dialogue in this movie is very deliberate. What is said is only what needs to be said. There's never any scene in these movies where it's like, can you shut up already? Right? So that just doesn't happen. So the subtitles also feel punchy when they're speaking in Russian, or we have the deaf or mute lady, I guess we'll discuss later, or whatever, right? Like it makes sense. Here's one thing, and I've watched these movies a million times, and here's one thing that I always come back to with John Wick, is that John Wick is the aggressor. He's not trying to survive the shootout. He's trying to kill you. Like, because think of how many action movies where it's like, oh, here flood in the bad guys, and I'm going to hide behind this pillar and try to pick them off or snipe them, or, oh God, I better roll behind. No, John Wick is going after you. He doesn't care that there's 5 guys with guns. He has a gun too. He knows martial arts. He will use any tool at his disposal to dispose of you all at once. He's not hiding out. He's coming for you. The boogeyman. What is it in Russian? What they always call him?
Baba Yaga.
Baba Yaga. So That's what's really alluring about the action in John Wick. It's not only fast, kinetic, all that stuff that you want in an action movie. It's aggressive from the protagonist point of view. He's not afraid of getting, if he has to take a bullet to his vest, which hurts like fuck, probably still, even though you're not getting pierced through to kill you, he will.
Oh, a guy like Wick is probably just using that to kill you even harder.
Yeah. But also, besides that, the neo-noir style and color of it, again, this is something that gets ramped up through all the movies, and it just, when we get to 3, ooh, we are hitting it. Well, I guess there's that part that begins 2. You remember how 2 begins, where you have that big pink light up against the building, and then that like motorcycle goes down the hill there, right? It's that one singular shot, right? Where it's like, ooh, this looks a little different already from the first movie, maybe because it's nighttime, maybe because I don't know what. But 3 really amps that up. Whether it's the signs at the stormy night, like ray trace reflected in the street.
Graphics on PlayStation
5. And we go to Casablanca. There's that outdoor party, right? Even when they shut off the lights in the Continental and then they do the green sort of neon. I don't even know why they did that other than to look cool. Just for us, the audience. And by the way, do you like how the big boys, with the armor, shot like smoke in there, which did nothing? What was that supposed to be? Tear gas? I think they just shot it in there for atmosphere because it didn't appear to do anything.
Well, what was that for? What the
hell? It was for no reason. And it just occurred to me on this last watch in preparation for this pod. I was like, wait a second, why did they do that? Like,
I guess, you bring tools for, expecting whatever, but...
Yeah, I guess, but like maybe it's just a precaution of what they do. Also, I guess we haven't gotten here yet, and we will now. Just very interesting lore these movies have. Rules and lore and logic, I guess you could also say, that all tie together to this very... I don't know, man. Like I'm not even sure where to begin with all that stuff, or should we? Because like it's very mysterious, right? It's still, we don't know everything about it.
Well, the lore is mostly tied to the Continental, which is run by the High Table, and it's a series of hotels where all these assassins do their assassin-y hangouts. I assume they get contracts or find work or something, or just hang out. They
just want to hang out at the bar and drink.
I mean, there's that no killing rule, which he flagrantly breaks at the end of the second one. But
in grand
spoilers
fashion.
If you're still here and not watching, and you're
listening to
anyone
listening to this, anyone listening to this is well in spoiler territory.
Yeah, I mean, come on, guys. I mean, there's that no killing rule they establish in like the first 2 seconds, and but yeah, they go into the he goes into the Continental like looking for leads, I guess, and I'm sorry, who him a bit better than me. Who is the concierge?
The hotel manager?
Yeah.
Oh, my favorite character?
Your favorite character?
I know it's Lance Reddick is his name.
Thank you.
He's also Silence in Horizon Zero whatevers. If that matters to you, which I didn't recognize because like I don't watch enough movies and stuff to like recognize people across stuff. But I was like, oh yeah, that's him. When I was doing this IMDb. I just got done playing those games too.
I mean, it's very he's a very all business person on the surface, right?
He's my favorite character. He is my absolute favorite character. He has been since the first one. Because you know why? It's like he has that smoldering sort of, he's all business, like you said, but he can kick some ass. You know it. You don't have someone like that just be your hotel manager of your assassin hotel, the assassin hotel.
Your assassin front.
Yeah.
where you're having the sexy assassin parties at night. I mean, what the heck was that? They were having some kind of rave underground, which was different than the raid John chases that one guy through when he was like getting drinks and trying to get info there.
That was so, yeah, it was weird, wasn't it? Yeah, well, hey, look, assassins need to party too. Can't just be all work and no play.
I mean, but all those scenes give us a taste of the coins that they seem to exchange for everything amongst themselves.
This is the most mysterious thing to me, actually. So they give him out like candy to everybody, right? Because like even in the third one, he's like he wants the cab driver to take the dog to the hotel, right? He even gives him one of those. So it's like, oh yeah, thanks for even before they get into he gets in to see Lawrence Fishburne, the Bum King. He have to pass off some of those to the flunkies, right? Like there's a whole bunch of stuff. He gives a whole stack of them to the Russians too when he's in trouble in 3, right? So
he had a whole bunch in his bug out bag in his basement, even when he was retired. You see him when he's getting out his gun. That's like the first time we see the coins. And yeah, like you said, he passes them around like candy. We can't really determine how much they're worth because between checking into a hotel, getting drinks, getting a fuck ton of weapons for whatever room you need to blow out in the next few minutes, or just asking a cabbie to drive your dog around town, it seems to be just enough for everything.
Do you like how the adjudicator, they had like a adjudicator coin that they kept passing on the table, like even to the sushi bar and everything? I was like, what is that supposed to be, their badge or like what?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think that was like them flashing their badge around like, I'm a cop.
yeah, it was very like police here. Like, oh, geez, okay. But I didn't think it was actually worth anything. It just felt like identification. The Russians? Question mark? I'm not sure. Look, I know, like, again, New York City, you have a lot of contingencies of people from overseas, which have kept a lot of traditions from overseas. That's also why New York City works in this, because I don't, honestly, like, LA doesn't have stuff like that.
We have a rich ballet culture. It's not as popular as it used to be, but it exists.
I mean, it's ballet. I mean, what can you do in 2022, right? But like, that's, I mean, not that they have to explain it to us. It's probably fine if they don't. But I just wonder how that got started. It almost makes me feel like this whole thing got started by the Russians, and then it, like, I don't know. They could have tied it to some KGB bullshit, or like.
Well, 3 gives us some hints. We see that he got help from, I want to call her Mama Babushka, but that's probably racist as hell, to the that lady who was at the ballet there in the first place. Like that was probably his in the first place. They're clearly some sort of branch that's akin to the Continental, but not really. But
I mean, they're obviously, as they say, under the table, but John Wick also seems to be from there. I mean, because when he goes to lady you were talking about, she was like, why have you come home? You know what I mean? So clearly he was raised or trained or orphaned to the Russians. Like, we don't really know anything about John Wick's parentage or whatever, right? So like, clearly this is it.
I mean, Wick sounds like I mean, you know, not to get critical about a movie character, but John Wick sounds like a fake-ass name to me, Andre.
Well, it is, because he said, like, my name is John Tani or whatever.
Oh my god, that's right. That was one of the...
Yeah.
That was one of the subtitles I couldn't see. Like, you know what? Sure, let's...
No, that was, so I thought that was interesting. I'm sure that's as much as we'll ever find out about. Because honestly, I feel like if they actually tell us, it'll ruin it. We probably don't need to know much more than that.
And then Zero stabs her hands anyway, so...
Man, it is, that was pretty brutal. I still, you know what though? I feel like, let's go there since you said that. So the adjudicator, they're mad at whatever the hell is going on with the Continental and all that, whatever. It's a whole story. Again, there's no need to explain that shit. Point is, she's going around like mom punishing everybody for not doing their chores, basically. So it's like, you gave John Wick 7 bullets, that'll be 7 cuts, right? And he slices up, Zero slices up Lawrence Fishburne like sushi.
He gives Fishburne 7 cuts for each bullet, one for each bullet, because symbolism.
I mean, it would be one thing if they just did it, but they actually had to say out loud 7 bullets, 7 cuts. You know what I mean? It's so weird. Anyway, but in any other setting that would feel really goofy, right? But it works here. I feel like if this were, I don't know, just about anything else, that would be like, what the hell is going on here?
It's, I found again, right in the beginning of 3, he gets wounded and he's going to the underground doctor because, you can't go to a hospital. Gives him a coin. Come on, I got 10 minutes. All right, fine. Look, you better shoot me. Otherwise they're going to think I helped you willingly. I'm like, okay. And he makes him shoot him twice. And then when they come by later, they still don't believe him.
Absolute great scene, though. Just a great scene. I knew, like, that's pretty early on in 3, and I was like, because 3 starts out with a bang anyway, but, like, running through the streets of New York, it's dark, it's rainy, it's whatever, he's running from everybody, trying to find help. But once after that, it was like, this is gonna be, woo! What the hell jurisdiction does the adjudicator have over Lawrence Fishburne anyway? It doesn't even make, how could they even police like what the hell is going on there? I mean, he has pigeons in every corner, right, flying around, and bums. Like, could they really, like, I don't know.
I feel like his role in the second one was that as an independent contractor, and that might have been where there was a violation. But other than that, there really shouldn't have been that much of a. That'd be like if I do DoorDash on the side. That'd be like if I fucked up a delivery, they came by and impounded my car.
They just you literally turn around from.
You
the
forgot
house
this guy's Sprite. Now you don't have your Honda Accord.
you literally turn around from the house and there's like the big red clutch things on the wheels and everything, like silently. just it happened behind your back in 5 seconds. I don't know why it made me laugh so much when well, first of all, I'm sure everyone knows, like, this is the first sort of screen reunion of Keanu Reeves and Lawrence Fishburne since The Matrix, which is great. It's kind of funny to see them again. Not that they made any reference to it, but I don't know why it made me laugh in that scene when they're first talking, and he goes to Wick's like, "You're going to help me," in his typical way, not asking but telling, and Lawrence Fishburne's like, "And why the fuck would I do that?" just so defiantly. I don't know what it was about his delivery of the "why the fuck would I do that" just made me it made me laugh for some reason.
I'm sure there's a big Matrix think piece out there going, that's the connection. Why would I help do that? Because the two of them were together in the Matrix. That's the connection.
See? Why did the adjudicator hire the Japanese guys from the sushi bar when they could have just had the armored big boys roll up like they did to the Continental, right? Like, is that like the extreme option, the nuclear option, or? I
think this might be a bit heady, or I'm probably thinking way too much into this. Zero is obviously a very accomplished assassin. He has students, and I think I think Zero in particular is a look at what John Wick would have been like if he's just stuck around in the assassin's profession on purpose. Like someone, the learned assassin, passing things, still doing killings, but maybe taking on some sort of artisan front like he is with the sushi, passing on the killing techniques to students, and still being this master killing guy along the way.
I guess so. No, that makes sense. Well, look, you want to like have another character in there, right? So it's a good way to introduce one.
You hire John Wick. She's basically hiring John Wick to go after John Wick. Man, I think he even says, "We are the same, you and I," when they're fighting.
Yeah, and Wick is like not. He does not. He's such a John Wick fanboy, and like Wick is just like, I don't care about you at all. Like I don't. You know? He's like, because after he says that, he's like, we're not the same, and he just like leaves the room, and he's like, okay, I guess that's the end of that. But okay, we got to talk about like the blood contract thumbprint dial things. What do I don't even know what you would call them. But like,
I guess we can call it a blood pact to keep it simple. It sounds like if you really owe somebody a favor, you make them do one of those, and then you call it in later. It's like a super assassin coin.
It's very. You would think they would have converted those to like, you know, some sort of iPhone app by now. Instead, well, I guess you know what though. That's the charm of John Wick, right? They're doing everything like it was a century ago.
And it is okay. Before I go on, speaking of things a century ago, can I talk about the operators at the Continental New York for a second?
Please.
What's going on in there? They got what looks like Commodore 64s hooked up to something. I couldn't tell you what, but it's clearly running. It's running things through on paper to print out, you know, for paper record keeping. On some kind of internal network, and all the operators are dressed like it's the 1930s, but they all got 2010s nightclub tattoos.
Yeah, and then the one person in 3, I don't know if you remember, they had like really short hair and then lip piercings and everything, and like they looked like they just came out of a, you know, some sort of club. It was just like, what the fuck, right? Yeah, it was weird.
I'm like, how does any of this work? I know, yeah, I'm sure you don't want the government to keep spying in on your thing, and that's why we're using Commodore, but...
Yeah, it was weird, but like it had the magical ability to call up all those phone numbers on the Commodore and then text everybody about the new contracts, though. So it's like, okay.
It's someone on the Assassin Squad is a Commodore enthusiast, and they made a robo-dialer app for the Commodore. Back to the blood coins. Yeah, I mean, it does seem like a bizarre loose end because that's they talk about the impossible task to get out of assassinating in the first place, and it turns out to be tied to that jackass in the second movie who helped him get to a lot of supplies and those dictator people in short order, or those other mob bosses in a very quick fashion. And I feel like there was a blood mark exchange for that, and I feel like that's a very bizarre loose end to leave behind in exchange for, you know, freedom. That okay, we're never ever gonna have to do this again.
Or you will, because that's not how anything works. But yeah, I just like I like the very, you know, not 2020, but like 1920, very old school of it, though looking very modern as a result. It's a weird mishmash. It's a very interesting world. We're going to take a break, but before I do, I said the hotel manager, Lance Reddick, is my favorite character. Who is your favorite character? No, you cannot pick John Wick.
You know what? I think I like Ares the Mute Lady a lot, and I think we'll get into why sometime after we get back.
Let's do that immediately after we get back. Be right back. Alrighty, we're refreshed. We took out a few thugs at our door in very John Wick style. We are back, so we want to talk about, or Steve rather, wants to talk about his favorite character, Eris. Which one, I didn't know her name. Two, I thought they were deaf because they're using sign language and her subtitled, sign language. But I guess they're actually mute, or you surmise so.
I feel like that's the only way a lot of this works because she reacts to sound in the room. She's in rooms when she's talking to people, and there's that sequence in the tunnels when he's running away after killing that lady in Rome. And I feel like the only way she would have been able to find him in that tunnel is if she heard him coming. And I feel like a character like this would not be able to trust any of the hired guns or even people that she hires herself.
You're talking about the tunnel under the concert, right? In two?
In two, yes.
By the way, can I just say real quick that, like, I love that he set up his Destiny rifle and his Batman utility belt under the under somewhere. Like, remember he just grabs that off a ledge somewhere down there as that scene is going on. It's just there. I guess he must have stashed it there before the show. I mean, in preparation. I mean, that's a John Wick thing to do. But I just like that he just so casually. Also, I love that the movie doesn't show you that he did that, and you just buy it just because, of course, he did. Right? That's just why these movies are great. But anyway, go on.
I mean, more than that, I feel like she's another character that probably could have gotten her own set of movies if they thought of it, but they didn't. She has a background similar to John Wick's. She's clearly been killing for a while. She hasn't left, obviously. She's under employment, but she's good at what she does, even though she gets a little distracted by John Wick's ass when he arrives. Remember when he's going in for weapons inspection and she's giving him the pat down, and she very deliberately gives him the tap on the ass, and they made sure we saw that tap on the ass.
Well, she also whap on the crotch right through the front, and then kind of gives him a reach around. You know what I mean? Slides her hand all the way back to his
and
ass
they made
crack.
Sure we saw all of that.
Well, that's as sexy as these movies get, unfortunately. So,
I mean, it's just more of a character trait than all these other. Oh my god, we're gonna die soon that we get from a lot of these other.
Well, she wanted to fuck with him. Obviously, is why she did that. But yeah.
I think there was some light interest because who isn't slightly interested and a little bit curious in fucking Keanu Reeves?
I mean, it doesn't matter what your sexuality or gender is. I mean, if you're not interested, just a little tiny bit interested in it, I mean, I don't know what you're doing here on Earth.
But I mean, going back to that tunnel scene, that she hurt him herself just speaks to a motivation of she needs to prove to herself who she is. And I find that she's able to overcome this. Well, I guess you don't really need to talk too much to be an assassin, but I'm sure growing up mute wasn't especially easy, although we don't know if she was always mute. I guess that's something that could have been forced on us later. I mean...
Yeah, we don't know, I guess. But I mean, I would assume so. We don't really know that as far as the movie goes, but yeah.
We don't really need to. I guess I just the way the movie resolves it in the end to be fairly interesting. Their little chase ends up in an art installation, which is really just a very tux required house of mirrors. And it just started setting off all my moviegoer hats because, okay, when you start doing the house of mirrors things, that you start to play with the shots a little bit, with the reflections of your character and how they perceive themselves. It's a little subtle, but I remember watching The Lady from Shanghai on Netflix. It was probably Netflix a long time ago. It's an Orson Welles detective noir movie where that resolves itself in a house of mirrors, and it's very subtle. You start seeing a lot of the figures stretching in and out, and it's sort of supposed to be speaking to how none of the ways we project ourselves are more the way they exactly are. But something I know more people have definitely seen, and especially in this action movie. Have you seen Bruce Lee's Enter the Dragon?
I mean, yes, but It's been so long, so
Okay.
I don't know.
You remember at the end where he chases the guy into another build. It's not quite like a fun house, but there's a lot of freaking mirrors in there. He gets very exasperated very quickly at the situation. So the solution becomes destroy every fucking mirror in there until we find the guy. And he does. And this works. But he loses that sense of self along the way. He had to break himself in order to accomplish the goal. And I find the scene here to be very artfully done because they're very careful to not break mirrors or things like that, despite all of that. Lots of carefully angled shots, both from the camera and all their gunplay. And I just felt the way they treated her was like the most art house of the as this could possibly get of the three. Someone arranging all of this has watched other films.
It sounds like 2 is your favorite then, right?
3 is better, but yes, 3 is objectively better, but 2 is my favorite.
Interesting. I wasn't expecting that. As I'm sure anyone could pick up from our first act. Yes, 3 is my absolute favorite. It is one of the best movies I've seen in a long time. It's one of my favorite action movies I've seen in a decade. It's probably this and Mad Max Fury Road for me, for like top of the mountain the last like 10 years. You can't beat them. So, speaking of that, sort of, these movies have grown in box office receipts a lot. So, like the first one, so okay, here's budget versus box office take, which obviously doesn't include video and VOD and streaming and whatever, but you know what I mean. So, first one cost $20 million. Jesus Christ, that's nothing. And it made 86. The second one, they stepped it up, cost $40 million and made 171. These are worldwide totals, by the way, not just domestic. The third one cost $75 million, and it looks like it, by the way.
It does.
And it made $327 million. So is that the ceiling? Is 4 going to do better than that? I know we're in the Rona times and everything, but by the time the fourth one is scheduled for March 2023, so I don't know, right? Will that still be a factor by then? Is this the ceiling for John Wick financially?
In the before COVID times, I would have said absolutely yes, that this is the ceiling. We'll say, I don't know what the cost for John Wick 4 is, but we'll say if they stuck a $90 million budget on there, it might have walked out with $220 million gross. And even that might have sounded kind of high.
Really?
In a pre-Rona time.
I guess so.
But have you seen what's coming to a theater near you in post-COVID time?
Trash.
There has been, and not just trash, there's been very little shooty bang bang to be seen. Did you see? There was nobody with Bob Odenkirk, and I thought that was good. I watched that on Blu-ray with my dad last fall. But that came out in a time when theaters were still 50-50 on whether they were open or not, depending on where you were. And I don't think that's a very good metric of how well that would do. I think anything could happen with Wick 4 with the appropriate marketing push.
I saw a trailer for a movie yesterday when I was watching baseball for something called The Northman. Is coming out this weekend. I have no idea what that is. It looked like fake Braveheart. It was like it appeared to be, well, if it's not rated R, I don't know what they're doing here. It appeared to be just like some sort of war epic that's medieval. The Northman. I was like, what is this? Not that it's bad or good. It's just like you said, the movie landscape here is like, what's happening, man?
Remember a few months ago when everyone was losing their shit over the Green Knight, and then it only turned out to be O-fucking-K?
Yeah.
That's how desperate we are right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like in any other time, that Batman movie wouldn't have done that well. I know people like it and whatever. I'm not talking about the quality of the movie. I haven't seen it. But I just feel like a whole lot of people wouldn't have been interested. Oh, really? Batman again? We're doing a new Batman again? But since it's right now, these times, it was like, sure, Batman. Okay, I know what that is.
You were telling me the other night. I think it's due around March next year. John Wick 4.
March 23.
I think you start pushing that around January hard. I think you can drum up a lot of interest.
I think you can too.
And
Especially
how
if
high that
they
goes, I don't know. Maybe not 327, but I don't know.
before the Rona, there was plans to film 4 and 5, John Wick 4 and 5 simultaneously, but obviously that fell through. If they still, not that they're doing that right now, I don't think they are, but like if they can get out the 5th one in quick succession, I think that'll do even better because if they get 4, drum up interest again, you know what I mean, and then hit you with 5. I think that would do like a really good like 1-2 punch, almost like It. You know what I mean? Everyone knew there was going to be It Chapter 2. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So just kind of hit him with the 1-2 punch. But to answer the question directly, I'm not so sure. An R-rated movie obviously can only make so much money at the box office because it's age restricted, right? And not just age restricted. Not everyone's going to want to go see something like that, you know. Unless you got to have like only certain R-rated movies can have really wide pop appeal. Like you got to be like Alien or The Matrix or God forbid like American Sniper or something, right? Like do you want me to tell you something really depressing about American Sniper?
It can't be anything else more depressing than anything I already know about the American Sniper, but please go
It
ahead.
is the second highest grossing domestic. Deadpool may have beaten it by now, but I'm not sure. R-rated movie in America behind The Passion of the Christ. Not adjusted for inflation.
So if you give us about 50 grand on our coffee, we'll do a double feature of Passion of the Christ and American Sniper.
That might hit a lot of the same demographic.
You ever see Passion of the Christ? No, I'm not getting into that today. Getting into that today. Let's move on.
I have not. If you want to do that on this show sometime, I'm sure you've already seen it. Usually I like to do stuff that we both haven't seen or that we both have seen. But
let's talk about this when we're not doing this show.
Come on. We can't have a production meeting on the air here. Come on.
Maybe not this production meeting.
Anyway, so I'd like to be wrong about that, but yeah, I would like to say John Wick will just become bigger than ever. But
I guess I should reevaluate. I don't think it's going to be like $600 million opening weekend, but I think it could creep up to something like 375.
The dead wife stuff with John Wick, that's the weakest part of any of these movies, right? Like in the 3rd movie, they barely acknowledge it. Like, I feel like they're going to move past that completely, hopefully. That's like the weakest part of any of these, isn't it?
I feel like they put that in it almost feels like they put it in at the last second. Because going back to the movies we liked, if you wanted to make a movie where something happens and then he starts killing people, losing the car and the dog should have been plenty. And then he could have just picked up a photo of his wife, put it down, and then there was a wife at some point, and then we move on. Here I feel like maybe we need to do something about that for just in case, and for the film rating board.
God,
she doesn't come up anymore after that.
No, she doesn't. I wonder. I was actually thinking about that. Like, I wonder if, particularly 3, with some of the stuff that goes on. Like, I wonder if the early cuts of these movies get slapped with like an NC-17, and then the MPAA is like, you got to cut this and this and this, so you know what I mean. So you can get an R. One of them situations.
Well, that's a technique you do for. Excuse me. That's a very popular technique across all of movies and TV. You load it up to be as graphic or as filthy or whatever you're making as possible to draw attention specifically to those things, And
Mhm.
then you go, okay, and then you make the cuts to what you wanted it to be in the first place.
Yeah. Yep. That Tarantino's a master at that. That's how I've heard stories about whether it's Reservoir Dogs or Django Unchained or several movies where he did, you know what I mean, went over the top and then like, okay, I'll do this, you know.
I mean, even a lot of the kids shows I had growing up, when I was listening to behind the scenes stuff later on, there was a lot of things where they just like write filthy joke after filthy joke, and they just send in like, we can't do all those. Just kind of okay, fine.
can we talk about Winston, like my second favorite character, maybe because like I think he's so interesting. I guess I'll just pose this at you, and you can take this wherever you want. What the hell makes him have such an affinity for John Wick? I get that they're friends, right? And I know they just probably worked there before, you know, he's back and whatever, right? They have a working relationship, but they seem to actually like each other. He gave him like an hour or whatever it was before he got excommunicated so he could run away. Winston did. Clearly didn't actually try to kill him at the end of 3. We'll talk about that a little later, but like how do you make out their relationship?
I think it's a Winston's first priority is the Continental. He's very that's his number one priority, that he gets into that. I think he might have aspirations to get onto the high table proper, and he sees Wick as means to get there, and so he'll occasionally bend the rules in certain directions to favor Wick, or not kill him at the end of 3, or here's an hour long head start, go for it. You better start running.
Oh no, he's gonna get you. I'm sending in the order now. Beep boop bop boop beep.
Yeah, I think it's one of those he values John more alive than dead scenarios. I don't know if there's especially more to it than that. To their relationship than that. Nothing we've seen.
I feel like there is. I feel like I don't know. I feel like you could say that about other characters in John Wick too. That John Wick is more. They feel he's more valuable alive than dead. But like, I don't know, man. I feel like it's a little deeper than that. I don't think his aim. I don't think Winston's aim is the high table. I think he just wants New York. Obviously, remember he pulled that big dick move at the end of 2. You know what I mean? Made all the people stop, and then they started going again. You know what I mean? Like he's showing that was just a big flex to
That
show,
was a
like,
big
hey,
flex.
I run this shit. You know, and that's why he was so pissed at the adjudicator at the end of 3. That's why they had to come to a stalemate with him, because it's like we are New York. He said it. I think that's what he cares about. He's just one of those old timey lifelong New Yorkers. You know what I mean? Like who loves the city like that. I think it's just as simple as that.
There's a one weird thread that bothers me, though. You know that one snippet in 2 where they're showing him that briefcase of coins when he's on the roof, and he's like, "Oh yes, these are good," and then you would think, "Oh, that's how these are getting passed around." But then we go into 3, and it's actually a bit more. There's actually a whole minting process that these actually go through. Is he forging these coins? Is he trying to undermine this situation with these coins somehow?
I didn't
You think?
quite get that either. I thought it was just kind of a flavor, like a kind of a throwaway thing. Like, yes, this is good. You know, him
Like,
conducting
why
quote
would
unquote
he?
business.
Yeah, but why would he need to approve legitimate coins?
I don't know. I honestly didn't think about it that way, but that is interesting. Though I have a question for you. You got it. You got to pick one. Okay, choose your death. All right. Would you rather be stabbed through the eye with John Wick's pencil, or get your dick and balls bitten off by Holly Berry's dogs, and then you get shot through the head? Which one are you taking?
Yeah. Meeting Halle Berry and her dogs means nothing without my private parts, so I gotta take that pencil in the eye.
I think I'm taking. There's something about the pencil that squicks me out. Like, if I'm gonna die anyway, who cares about my crotch, right? Like, you're just gonna shoot me afterwards. So, like, I'm only living a few seconds without it. Those dogs, though, man, that's probably my favorite. Woo, what a scene. Like, I wasn't necessarily expecting Holly Berry to kick so much ass. I just thought she'd be like another character, just like what's her name sister who you have to kill, who you, as if this is a video game, who John Wick has to kill in the second one, but she offs herself before he can do it and whatever. Right. I thought it was going to be a situation like that. Not that he was going to go kill her, but wow. I don't know what to say about Holly Berry without being extremely lecherous on this show called Fine Time, but Jesus Christ, man!
This is a audio show, but I'm tipping my head respectfully, going, "Man."
What a scene, though, right? Like just excellent, top to bottom, excellent.
She still got it.
Ugh. But she's coming back, though, right? Like that can't be the end of Holly Berry.
It can't be.
I mean, you don't get her involved in this shit and like just use her once. Come on now.
As a dog person, I gotta say, I'm also was impressed with how they shot the dog and it just stood back up again. Yeah, I know it was wearing a vest, but
leads to a pretty good line, though.
Yeah. Man, what was it exactly?
She was pissed. Dude, you don't remember? She was pissed. Like, he shot my dog, and John Wick's like, "I get it." Everyone at the theater laughed at that one. I was in a packed theater for John Wick 3, which was actually really fun. I'll talk about it a little bit now. So it was really great because, I got there early, everyone's there, it's packed. I'm sat in my seat, and like I sat next to this guy who was maybe, I don't know, probably just a few years older than me, and his kid, he brought his 15-year-old kid. This kid was geeked to watch John Wick 3. He was so excited. Like, come on. It's like father-son tradition to bring your kid to like to a filthy R-rated movie that mom doesn't want you to see, right?
You remember your first?
It was Terminator 2. I was a little young, though. I was like 9 or 10, but honestly, like, Terminator 2 isn't that bad. It's not John Wick 3. No. I mean, it's rated R, obviously, and it deserves it, but it's not as bad as this is like, woo, you know what I mean? This is a cut above.
We had the advent of videotapes, so there were plenty that we'd borrow from the library over the years, but the first one I saw in the theaters was when I was going in the 6th grade, and I'm sad to say it because I was disappointed by it even then. Lethal Weapon 4.
Oh man,
that was the first R-rated movie I got to see with my dad in the theater. And
did he like it?
he liked the shooty bang bang, but he's like, this wasn't as good as the other ones.
I saw Lethal Weapon 3 at the movies. That's good. I like 3 a lot.
It's fine.
Do you remember the first R-rated movie you saw by yourself? Like, did you bought your own damn ticket because you were 17 years old? Considering, okay, I'll just let you say mine because I'm sure you can figure it out. Considering what we're talking about here, 1999, I turned 17.
What would have it been in 1999?
The Matrix, baby. Keanu Reeves. Yeah, it's rated R.
I thought that was PG-13 for sure.
Are you fucking kidding me? No, they're all rated R.
Okay. I turned 18 and 17 in 2004, 2005, and I'm trying to, because this goes back to what we were kind of alluding to, where things were already getting watered down for, that PG-13 dollar, and I'm trying. Anything I might have seen is like
Sin City.
Was that around that time? That might have been.
Yeah, it may have been Sin City. May have been Constantine.
It was not Constantine. Sin City sounds right.
V for Vendetta. I don't know. That was later.
It might have been Sin City. It might have been V for Vendetta. Constantine was earlier than that.
Anyway, but yeah, I had a great theater experience, and so that was fun. I was talking to the dad. Oh, he was so excited. I'm taking him to see this movie. We're not telling mom. All that, all that stuff, and then not him, but someone in front of me. When Winston shoots John Wick and he falls off the roof, some guy in the front row goes, "Oh no, not John Wick!" He was so upset. It was hilarious, man. I was just like, I didn't even have time to laugh because I was shocked that he even did that to him. Obviously, or fake did that to him, but it was just like,
okay.
oh.
If they do a reshowing of the trilogy before 4 comes out, I'll go and just do that on purpose.
Oh man.
I was talking about cartoons and things before, but you remember in the late 80s, early 90s, where just about fucking everything got a kids cartoon, whether it needed it or whether it really fit it or not, because there were toys to be sold.
Yeah, whether it was appropriate or not, too.
I mean, remember Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, and a Mask cartoon like 2 years apart from each other?
I do. Now that you mention it, I do. I wouldn't have recalled that off the top of my head, but yeah.
Although for more of our purposes, like, remember that there was a RoboCop cartoon at some point?
I do remember that too, and they were all disappointing. Look, I used to watch these movies on VHS and stuff, so I knew what they were really supposed to be like. Watching the cartoon always been like, I don't know. Ed 209 isn't blowing anybody to bits. I'm not really feeling it.
So what I'm really trying to ask is, and this is for the 3 people on Cartoon Twitter I interact with that might have followed us here. Hey guys. So, the weird gimmick on what would have been John Wick Jr. probably, and his talking dog. Who's going to be the talking dog in this children's cartoon?
I know this is like everyone's first choice for everything, because like I'm like shitty with like voice actors and stuff. I don't really recognize a lot of them and stuff, but like, I don't know. It feels like it needs to be gruff as hell. It feels like it needs like a Danny DeVito or like a very like, you know what I mean? It needs that kind of voice. It needs to sound silly. Jason Alexander? I can't take the dog seriously. You know what I mean? So it's got to be a voice like that.
I don't think you really would. I think it would be a show where Wick witnesses injustices, and then he says he needs to go do something about it. And then the dog, it's like it'd be Davy and Goliath, except he shoots everyone with super soakers or Nerf guns every episode. I don't think that's such a good idea. And then he goes into his closet with the secret hatch and pulls out a whole arsenal of Nerfs.
Imagine like the Matrix, like whoosh of gun racks, but it's all Nerf guns and super soakers. They're picking up off the thing for the Nickelodeon airing.
But for me, you'd have to, if you wanted him to sound more like a dog, you get Frank Welker, who's done every voice under the sun. Just about every cartoon dog, really. Or if you really wanted him to just sound goofy, you'd get Brad Garrett. He was all over the place on cartoons in the 90s. Robert from Everybody's Loves Raymond.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That would be good.
I think that's such a good idea, John.
I feel like that's the voice you put on for your own dog, actually. I feel like it's not too dissimilar. So, yes.
Well, I'm assuming it would. Well, I was assuming it'd be a Roddy, but now that I'm thinking about it, I feel like it would be another thing where he'd like just talk to dog. He'd be some kind of dog whisperer, and you'd have all manner of dogs, including the inappropriately Mexican caricatured Chihuahua that pops up every other episode because it's a 90s cartoon.
Oh yeah, that would absolutely happen without even I mean, we were still doing Speedy Gonzales in the 90s. Of course they're going to do that with a Chihuahua.
You know that they kept doing those like up until 2000 something. You know there was a Men in Black cartoon?
What? Wow. Okay. Why? I mean, it makes sense. I just don't. Wow. Okay.
And I think the last one they ever did with, and it wasn't even based off any specific movie, was Jackie Chan Adventures. You ever hear of this?
Yes, I've seen that before. I've actually seen that. That wasn't terrible.
Where they make him an archaeologist and.
Yeah, it was weird. It was a weird premise, but I do remember that.
What a time.
Can we talk about Common, please? Or I forget his character's name, but it's the rapper Common. I just call him Common. Great character. I love the respect they had for each other, him and Wick. One of my favorite fucking scenes is when they're trying to snipe each other in public. He's up on the top. They're trying to get on the subway. They're like they're trying to use like the silencers and like try to shoot each other without alerting civilians or anything. Like just kind of, oh boy.
And then they accidentally on purpose end up at the Continental and they stop for a few minutes or however long.
Yeah,
because no business on company grounds.
Hey, rules separate them from the animals, right? Isn't that what they say? Anyway, he stabs him on the subway fight and leaves it in his chest. And John Wick's like, "If you pull that out, you're gonna die," or whatever. So then he just kind of leaves Common on the subway, and the subway rolls off, and he just has that wry smile on his face, like motherfucker.
What a
and
great...
we never see him again.
That's just a great. Yeah, this is a well-shot scene, I think.
Yes. Excellent. So I guess my question to you is he dead? Common's dead. Or is he... I mean, we didn't actually see him die.
He is dead until proven alive.
So it's a soap opera? Like, we don't know.
Remember when back when we were doing Animal Crossing speculation, Tortimer's dead? Yeah. Until we can prove otherwise. Common's dead. We've already established that these guys can't go to the hospital. They probably can't go to I'm trying to name a hospital, but I'm not going to because they'd all sound made up and offensive. Wave a coin in and be like, "Oh, right this way," and then fast track whatever you'd need to do to make that happen. And I'm sure as skilled as any of the other backdoor doctors are, they do not have what it takes in-house to do what that takes. Or maybe we'll be proven wrong in 4 and 5. Shrug.
I would like him to come back, though. I'm not sure that his character has any purpose outside of protecting that dude's sister, but I don't know. Just pure revenge. Just pure spiteful revenge. Do you like how, after the tunnel thing, they started punching each other. They fell down the stairs and they got up and they just fell down endless flights of stairs. It almost felt like a comedy bit. How many stairs they fell down. It was great. One more thing, and then we'll have another break and we'll talk more John Wick. One more thing though. So remember in the first movie, where Wick is getting sniped through his hotel room by William Dafoe or whoever it was, and then the assassin lady comes through his door, starts kicking his ass while he's trying to be sniped through the window by him too. And then he ties her up and he asks his next door neighbor to be like, "Hey, can you watch her real quick or something?" But then she breaks loose and then kills his next door neighbor. Oops. And then she leaves. Did we ever see her again? Did she die? Did that get resolved?
Didn't they parade her through that platform thing where... I forget where that was, and where they were excommunicating John Wick, and they executed her up there. Remember that toward the end of 1?
I don't remember that at all. So
because she said fairly loudly, "I have special permission to kill you on the grounds," which sounds like bullshit. But even assuming that's true, she did kill that other guy. And I'm sure that falls out of the jurisdiction of the rules of even if there is a special exception, we don't kill other guests. So they called her out there, and Winston was there like, "You know what you did? I was doing a job." And they're like, "Oh, that's too bad for you." And then there was a bunch of guys with guns, and they trained her at her. And
I don't remember. I'm having no recollection of this, and
unless I'm thinking of someone else, but I'm pretty sure that was her.
Okay, maybe you watched some sort of deleted scenes version. I swear to God, I don't remember this. Look, I'll take your word for it. That's a complete blank on me, and I've seen these movies a million times. That's why I'm even asking the question in the first place. But whatever. I'm sure that happened. Anyway, we got some more fun questions in a second, and we'll do some speculation on what could happen in John Wick 4 at the end. We'll be right back. Alrighty. It's time for more John Wick.
Baba Yaga.
Whoa! Whoa! Where is he? So we're watching these in preparation for this pod. John Wick 2 is paced a little weird in retrospect, isn't it? Like, cause think about it. We open with the car thing. He's car-fooing everyone to death. And then there's no other action for like a solid hour before shit finally hits the fan at the concert. That's like a long stretch. That's like the longest stretch in John Wick without doing anything. I mean, not doing anything. It's not that you're bored in that first half or anything. It's just that like,
yeah. I mean, in that way, it felt very James Bond in that way, right? Where we're getting. Well, he gets a sort of mission or job, really, and then we're going to prepare for it. It's not unlike visiting Q down at the studio, and here's your. And for this, we're giving you a little thing with a camera, and also it explodes if you click it too many times. Whoops. There's a lot of that for an hour. You know, you're having a good time, but yeah, it is. It's hard to ignore that part of two. I suppose.
I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's just that like none of the other movies are set up that way. But I mean, we talked a little bit about Lawrence Fishburne already, but like. Come on, this guy is just...
he's wonderful.
He's absolutely wonderful. He's the king of the bums. He's dressed like a bum. He's wearing the biggest rags. He thinks of himself like the king because he is of his own domain. And Lawrence Fishburne is hamming it up, boy. Holy shit.
With messenger pigeons like those, who's going to tell him no? The educator. Who else is going to tell him no?
And the adjudicator can't really. I mean, like, they can try, and they did try, but it's like, can't really do much about it. And, which obviously caused a stalemate at the end of 3. She realizes, hey, just because we're in charge doesn't mean people aren't gonna do what they do. Anyway, I love Lawrence Fishburne in it because it's like, it adds a much needed level of camp in a series that could almost take itself too seriously with like all the lore and mythologizing and stuff to a point where like it could be like, come on, a little too far up its own ass. But it doesn't do that. Characters like Lawrence Fishburne keep the thing in a space that I enjoy because he's so over the top. He's so ridiculous. And obviously he's going to be a focal point in 4, huh? Now.
Well, I feel like the way these movies are set up, you really can't take too much of this seriously anyway with some of the ways these people die. Like, I remember at the beginning of 3, the first wave of Zero students, they're just throwing knives at each other until
incredible stuff.
And, I mean, how seriously, it's really cool to look at, but how seriously can we take all of this? But just in case you were, here's Lawrence Fishburne, just to just to take the more serious film goer to hey, relax,
relax. It's just John Wick, man. So okay, we've been doing a lot, I guess, talking about like MPA ratings and stuff like that. So here's one thing that I've been thinking about, not just John Wick, but in general. So like. The relative lack of sex or anything sexy in these movies has been a weird one for me. Maybe it's just because I'm a child of the 80s and I was just used to seeing, like, it was guns, bloods, and babes. It was always it. We don't really have the babes anymore. I mean, we do, but they're not, you know what I mean? The closest we got to any nudity was the lady who you're supposed to kill in 2, and that was just kind of like she's in the bathtub. You don't really see anything.
We got other nudity we didn't want. Remember when the mob boss's son was running out of the pool in the underground party, and then he was running through the rave, and then out into the street and into the car, and
I mean, he wasn't naked. He was just like I mean, it was just kind of like.
I guess he technically had a towel, but.
Yeah, but it was just like, but that's the thing. I'm not even just talking about women. It was men too. Think about, like, we were just talking about Lethal Weapon, right? Didn't one of those movies definitely showed like either Mel Gibson or Danny Glover in the shower, like naked or just walking around their house. There was definitely ass in Lethal Weapon for sure, right? So, and think about like when John Wick takes the shower and they're showing all those tattoos. Before, that would definitely be a full frontal like back shot. You know what I mean? Now they don't really do stuff like that anymore. So I don't know. If we move past that as a movie watching going public, everyone says, "Oh, we have the internet now to watch porn." That's not it. That is never an excuse for
It's
anything. That's
it's
not what I'm talking about. So
it is some of it, but people are looking at things more critically now. I think, remember Mr. Skin, which is still an active
yes,
site,
I
by the way.
do. Yeah, I do.
I think that took a lot of magic out of it for a lot of people, by the way. And not just because there's internet porn. I think it just became less profitable for the bottom line to be having the will they or won't there be boobs in your movie, unless unless it was really crucial to it. Like a lot of movies, like just that you would think have been rated R or PG-13 just to draw in those extra dollars, and I think that's a big part of the reason why even here, even though this is very much rated R, it's missing that that brief nudity.
Yeah.
We just don't make movies that way right now.
We don't. I'm not saying that like there needs to be a villain in 4 where she's just like naked the whole time shooting everybody, which would be great, by the way. I would be my favorite movie of all time. But did you see we talked a little bit about Sin City earlier. Did you see Sin City 2, whatever it was called? Sequel?
2. Yes, I did.
Ava Green was naked the entire movie.
Yeah, she was.
Oh, it was great. Steve won't agree with me on the air, but I know what he feels.
I agreed that she was naked most of the movie.
Yeah, you know what? You could help me out right now, but you're not. You're just letting me be lecherous all by myself.
I mean, it was probably the most pleasant part of the movie.
Oh, come on. I liked it. You didn't even like Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character? I don't know. I thought it was fine. That's not the first one.
I guess it wasn't as great as Sin City. Sin City.
Sin City. Anyway, it's just something I've noticed. Just because if you're our age, you remember what these movies used to be like, and now we take a different bent, which is fine. Real quick, since this is allegedly a video game podcast,
I've never played a video game before.
Okay, well, let me tell you about them. Okay, we told you about all video games now that you're caught up to speed.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Okay, John Wick video game. There was John Wick Hex a year ago or something. I don't really even know anything about that, so we can just skip that if you want.
It looked based on the trailers, it looked like bargain bin John Wick tactics, and I want nothing to do with that.
It looked like it had hexagons or something. I mean, if they were going to do that, why didn't they just rip off XCOM? They didn't need to do I don't know. Anyway, can a John Wick video game work? Because I'm of the opinion that it really can't.
Oh no! Whoever's doing that has the world's most unenviable job. I mean, I guess if you handed me the money, I'd try and come up with some sort of single player score attack FPS sort of thing where you try and do the impossible jobs, and you have this huge ass armory at the Continental, and you try and mix and match weapons in an effort to get creative with your kills along the way, and maybe you get better points for melee or scenery kills, but I really don't know how you would make such a game and have that be worth it to the customer or the person bankrolling this sort of project.
The only way I could see this working is if they do some super stylized, very set PC FPS. I guess it would have to be an FPS. I don't see it could be that. Maybe it could be third person. You do a Max Payne thing, but I feel like that would be too stiff. I feel like it needs to be first person, and it would have to be very brief. You couldn't it couldn't be a gameplay style that's sustainable over a long period of time. Like a Metal Gear Revengeance or something like that. It needs to be a 3-hour short, arcade length affair, if you will, or I guess longer than that. The Sonic Adventure of FPSs, if you will, just pure spectacle. You know? I'm not sure if anyone can actually do that. Like you said, it seems like an impossible task, but
sometimes it's just meant to be a movie. Lethal Weapon was on the NES and Super NES, but did anyone really like that? No.
No. I mean, I'm sure someone did because I got it for their birthday or Christmas and they had to play it because it's all they had and they had to force themselves to like it. But other than that, no. Okay, any other, like, scenes that you really love that stood out to you before we move on to John Wick 4 speculation? Like, any other things that was just, like, your favorite John Wick things?
You remember in John Wick 1, he's trying to. It goes beyond just revenge, basic bitch revenge. He needs to destroy the business first. And the lead takes him to the fake ass church. It's like this. It's this dilapidated building. Like, I couldn't tell you exactly where in town it is. And he goes in, and it's just one guy praying, and the priest. He finds the drugs there. Is like, oh no, the drug, and then they knock him out, and they zip tie him there.
Yeah,
He's like, oh, you're not. We got you now. You're not getting out of this one. Blah, 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 blah. And while he turns around, he's like slowly inching up, and then finally he just like somehow in like one motion, like chokes the guy with the zip tie, and the other guy just doesn't really know how to react to that. So,
look, I mean, if I were getting choked with a zip tie, I wouldn't really know what to do either. I mean, Jesus Christ. By the way, when we were talking about the car thing at the beginning of 2, I love that he took the car after getting fucked up by everything there, getting out of the garage. He takes it to John Leguizamo to, like, be fixed up. He just looks at it like, what the fuck are you talking? I can't fix this. What are you...
Can you fix this? Oh, yeah, we could fix this. No, I can't fix this.
We talked about Wick and Holly Berry at the dog shootout. Her attack dog's just fucking excellent.
I brought up... No, I'm sorry. I know I brought up that montage of all those assassins at the beginning, but something about that fat guy. I was looking into him. I think he's actually a sumo wrestler in real life.
I mean, that it would have to be. I mean, he's huge, like in every dimension.
He keeps stabbing him, and it's not doing shit. Shooting him in different places, the butt, doing nothing. People are walking by on the other side of the street. They're not. It's like they're not even there. So which is also fairly New York now that I think about it. Oh, you know what? There's probably two sides to this. I just keep walking right past this.
Yep.
And he just...
Well, there was that one thing where, like, Wick and Common were fighting on the subway, and then the subway stop comes, and everyone just runs off the subway real fast. Yeah, there was that kind of visual gag, I guess. But
that only really ends when he finally gets one shot in on the head, and even that was very difficult because he's that much taller than Reeves is.
Yeah.
Thought that was funny.
Look, my favorite kill... everyone's favorite kill, in my opinion, should be at the end of 2. He killed him on continental grounds. How many movies do we fucking watch where we are denied our satisfaction? We are not denied it this time. He does it. Mid-sentence. He kills him. I couldn't believe it. I wanted him to so bad. I was like, do it. Come on, do it, motherfucker. You fucking coward. Just kill him. Kill him right now, you son of a bitch. And he did it.
There's just so many of these where he's a bureaucrat. He's got diplomatic immunity. He's the president's son. We can't kill him. Blah blah. No, he ran out of fucks to give.
Yeah, but that's also why
shot him right there in front of Winston.
That also, yeah, and that's what sets up the adjudicator. Really, that's why they don't kill them. You know, because they could kill them at any time if they really wanted to, right? But think about what that would bring if they really did that. That's real power, right? They know they can't get away with that, or at least they can't get away with that yet, right? Which is why they were pretty much untouchable in that movie, which made sense. Yes. But yeah, I love that he killed him. Sets into motion, obviously, probably the rest of the series here, but man, love it. Knife through the eye at the end of the knife throwing fight. The coup de grace.
Yeah. As
Woo,
if all the
baby.
rest of it, like we really needed that on top of a very satisfying sequence already. But
Oh, we did.
perfect
Oh,
topping.
my theater, my packed theater, just everyone just went, oh. It was great.
Yeah, I envy you because this was still. I tend to catch a lot of quiet shows in theaters, unfortunately.
Me too, but this was just one movie where I was just like, I'm gonna go day one, night one. You know what I mean? I'm gonna see this ASAP. This is just kind of a weird little small one. I love in the nightclub in the first one, right? There's like a guy with a beard, right? And he grabs him by the beard. I don't know, like after like hitting him in the face, he grabs him by the beard, slams his head down on the table by the beard to put a few bullets in it. It was so disrespectful in a way that I have to admire. You just grabbing a man's beard that way and just ooh, my God.
Speaking of, I do appreciate that one. Well, I put it in my notes as killing with kindness. You know how right before he breaks into the club, he finds that one guy on the roof, and he's like, "Hey, you're looking good." And he's got the gun to his head. He's like, "Hey, you lose weight? Yeah. Look, I really got to do this stuff, but you can go if you don't make any noise." Okay.
It's like bye. uh, oh my God, there was something. Just again, these aren't movies aren't like super quotable or anything, but there is a couple lines I really like. I love like in the first one when he's like the main villain, the Russian guy in the first one, the father of the kid who fucked up. He's like, they're punching each other. He's like, "What happened, John? We are professionals. We were civilized." And John Wick's like, "Do I look civilized to you?" He just starts punching him some more. It's like, oh my God, I don't know. This is really funny. Also, I really love when they start rolling out the armored big boys to the Continental. By the way, just excellent with the shotguns and stuff, right? Like just
Oh,
woo, their heads just start disappearing, man. Just excellent stuff.
that
I
is what
love that
happens.
in the middle of that, the adjudicator calls Winston. He picks up the phone and they're like, "I know you believe you can keep this up, but I assure you," click, just hangs up on her. Great stuff. It's great stuff. Anyway, any lines you really liked? Just their dialogue.
I mean, there's. I like all the pleading they do in the first one, where they somehow think they're going to reason with him while he's armed to the teeth. It was just a dog. right
Nope.
before, right before the shot or the knife or the other choreographed scenery kill goes in, and I'm still a sucker for just the banner of There's it happens in the first two movies. The first one when they'll break him and kill the dog in the first place, and the second one where they torch the house, and
Yeah.
both times the same cop rolls by, working again, John.
I like that yeah, I love that. Oh, that also that's a bit of lore that I also liked. When they have to call in the body crew and they call in quote unquote dinner reservations. I have dinner
Yes.
for 12 or something like that, so they know they have to pick up 12 bodies. Yeah, I love that. I don't know why. It's good little touches like that, right? Okay, let's talk about what we think might happen in John Wick 4, where John Wick falls off the roof and is picked up. His body is later picked up by Lawrence Fishburne. That's the end of the movie. Lawrence Fishburne sitting on a throne in the sewer, by the way, which is just great.
It's
I
perfect.
mean, it's great. I mean, he is the Rat King, literally. Okay, Winston was not trying to kill John Wick. He nods to him before it even goes down, like, because after the conversations go on, John Wick's like, "Winston, like what's," and he looks at him, and is like, "Don't worry, it's fine, it's fine." He nods at him. That he didn't do that for no reason, right? And then like even the hotel manager after that, after he shoots him off the roof, was like, "Well played, sir." Right? So I don't think he was talking about well played to get your shit back. I think he was talking about well played. You didn't really hurt John Wick. That's my interpretation. I don't know how anyone else can interpret these events any other way. There are people who out there who really think he tried to kill him. We have to be in agreement on this, right? We have to.
No, I don't think he was trying to kill Wick. Not at that point. While I do think he's while I do feel he could see Wick as expendable in the future, he's not at that particular point now.
I think you think Winston is more calculating than he actually is. Maybe we'll find out like later, but I'm not sure that he thinks about it that way. I think he's a rather simple man. He just wants his New York City. That's all I think he cares about.
I think so too. I just don't know how he's necessarily. Well, I guess we're really not supposed to know about all his plans. I mentioned earlier how that there was that incidental scene in 2 where he's evaluating the coins. Now, I know we know why the educator said they were coming, but I've worked jobs before in retail where the district manager said they were coming for one reason, but they were really coming for another reason.
Mm-hmm.
What if the thing where I'm here to make sure we're taking care of John Wick was really, I'm here, we've got a whole influx of these fake assassin coins floating around. What the hell's going on with that? Maybe I need to look into this. And I feel like that may be where we're headed, or maybe that's just to throw me off, the guy who's looking at this too much.
Well, remember he was saying to them, like, to the adjudicator when they were negotiating, like, yes, I overstepped. I admit it, but blah, blah, blah. I don't think the overstepping Winston was talking about was giving John Wick time to run away. I think they may have been talking about maybe those coins, maybe something else, right? Because I don't think it was just about Wick.
Because he's clearly covering something else up, and that might come to a head in the next movie. And if you're covering one thing up, you're covering other things up.
But I don't think Winston is some sort of sinister. Again, maybe we'll be proven wrong by.
I don't think he's necessarily sinister either. I think the goal is New York and his New York Continental.
I think that's all he cares about. Okay, so here's my own personal little fanfic take on what might happen in 4. I don't think Lawrence Fishburne just picked up John Wick off the street out of the goodness of his own heart. Obviously, he loves fucking with John Wick. Remember in the second movie, will someone please get this man a gun? Right? Like the whole bit. He loves fucking with him. So he wants something. I don't know what. I think kind of just like Winston. I think he just wants his own little corner in New York just to be left alone, let him do what he wants to do, which is fine. But like
Pigeonland.
Maybe John Wick can help him get that back. And if they do, they're going to have to go through the belly of the beast, which will have to be the high table or something, I guess. By the way, we didn't talk about this. The desert. The guys smoking hookahs and stuff like that. Was that the highest of the high table? Was that like the high table?
That was certainly the highest we've seen.
Yeah.
Because even the guy at the coin mint is like, we've never really seen this guy before, but here's how you get to him if you're lucky.
Wow. That was some wild shit. I really enjoyed that scene.
What would they tell him to do? They just told him to keep walking until you collapse, and maybe he'll find you.
Yeah, and then walk some more. Yeah. Then, do you like how Halle Berry drove him out like halfway there to give only like backwash water and then to walk through the desert with, basically? She hates him in a way that is really fascinating. Like, I get they had a little conversation. I get they have some history, but like, she really does not like him for this. I know she resents him for bringing like with her daughter and stuff, getting her somewhere safe, and she doesn't know who she is and away from the assassin bullshit, right? But like, she really resents John Wick.
Well, that's the fun. All of these guys already have an established history. We have to fill in the blanks ourselves if there are blanks to fill.
Okay, here's my big hot take. You ready? John Wick is gonna die in Chapter 4. Chapter 5 will not have John Wick. Or, okay, he will quote-unquote die in 4, but either it will be like we said before, a soap opera death like Common, but he will not be the focal point. If he comes back in 5, it will have to be some other avenue that we will never see coming, because he will die for realsies or, soap opera die in 4. That's my hot take.
I feel like it's possible, but it'd also be a big move after he went that high along the table.
Yeah, I don't know. Why not?
Yeah, why not? Why not?
Anything's possible with this series now.
This has already been Why Not the trilogy.
I mean, God, if
it's technically plausible, I feel like they did it.
I was looking at a little bit of casting for 4, but okay, before I say that, do you remember this? It was made famous on the Twitters. When John Wick 3 was filming, a shot leaked of him on the horse and shooting someone in the head, like one of the motorcycle guys.
I don't remember this.
Do you remember that? Yeah, that leaked somehow. So we saw a picture of that, and we were like, what the fuck is this movie gonna be? And sure enough, that is exactly what happens.
We got to appreciate that, just more animal whispering, what is it? What is it? What is a horse? It's just a big dog, right? Give it a smack on the ass, and it just kicks the other assassins in the head, and
they're dead too. Not too many people survive a horse kick like that.
The head.
They are dead dead.
I mean, that's already a good way to break all your ribs if you don't survive that to the head.
That's my hot take. John Wick's gonna die in the next one. We'll see. We won't find out till March 2023. But
see you in
the meantime, I'll probably watch these movies a million more times, like I always do. It's my shit. If this 4th one is anywhere close to good, this is the best action franchise of all time. As far as consistency goes, what could be better than this? If we get a 4th one that's even 80% as good as these, come on.
I'm sorry, I'm just getting flashbacks of Terminator Salvation and Lethal Weapon 4 and other unfortunate 4s.
Do you like how they, the last, what was it called, Genesis with a Y or something? Do you like how they tried to go back? Do you like how they try to go back to, okay, we'll stop fucking around, we're gonna make a rated R action movie again, and then it's, still stupid? Anyway. But I think we're wicked out. We have maybe some assassin lives to go back to, maybe not. Hey, how do you know how we fund this podcast? You don't know. You have no idea. It could be those silly little coins.
Yeah, mine just say Chuck E. Cheese on them, though.
My say Family Fun Center. If you're from California, you know if you know. We will see you next time on Fine Time. Bye.
We'll see you at the movies.